Hey guys, this is Kevin for Pixavert.com, and the new version of Invoke AI came out, Invoke AI 3.0, and I've had a chance to look at it and it's pretty amazing. So we'll take a quick look around the user space. First thing is that they've got a feature when you set up the software, they've got a feature that allows you to choose whether it blurs out naughty images, not safe for work images. And I tried that and it doesn't do anything on my computer. It just allows them to be displayed in their full glory. There are a lot of new features and overall very impressive software. It's got a new nodes-based editor, and I think we can actually try that first. So with this one, it's experimental. I think to turn it on, you go to the settings and you've got to turn on enable nodes editor. So it's a fairly simple to use user interface with the gallery on the right hand side. And we can change the look of that. We can import assets using this option here, and we see the images which are created here. We can go ahead and delete the ones that didn't quite work. Let's go ahead and do that, and don't ask me, yeah, just do it. And we can keep the selected ones here. We can even move them to a selected board. So let's move them to a selected board, and you can see some of the other images that I was playing around with. It's a very creative process, and I was playing around with mermaids and mechanical women. Now the user interface is a delight to use, and with a new nodes editor, this new interface, I found this one was quite a lot faster than the standard interface. So we've got a 512 by 512. Let's change the CFG scale. We're going to create a mech warrior woman. Let's see. So we've got a supermodel in a mech suit. Let's go ahead and we've got deliberate. Let's choose colorful, and let's hope it's not too sexy. I've got nude in the prompt, in the negative prompt, so it should not produce anything weird. Let's increase the CFG scale and go ahead and invoke. So this one should create an image, and we should see the image in the default board. So to add a board, you just click here, it adds a board, and you can set which board is the default one by choosing auto add to this board. Now you can't see the generated image. I don't know how to show it in this area here, but you can see it if you go to the text to image section. So I wasn't quite sure how to add it. This is experimental, all of this stuff here, obviously, and it will potentially allow you to run SDXL. Now I think it can already do that, but I was not able to run SDXL, the next version of Stable Diffusion. For whatever reason, I was not able to run it. You can save your workspaces if you want to, and you can load up the SDXL one. But I think the SDXL one is there by default. But I think you need tokens from Hugging Face to be able to use it. I'm not entirely sure, but it didn't actually go for me. But as you can see, it's fairly straightforward, very similar to Comfy UI, and I think it's probably the fastest way of generating images. So even if we increase the size of this, let's change this to 768. And invoke again. It should be pretty fast. There we are. That's going to look interesting. Okay. So once you're done, you can decide, okay, I don't want this one. We can put this in the out section, and then you can go and delete that entire board if you want to. Let's go to this one. What we can do here is just take a quick look around the user interface. We've got the positive and negative prompts. We've got the big, it should be a big orange button, shouldn't it? The invoke button. Then we've got this section here, which is where most of the legwork is done in terms of setting the settings. You can choose a model, and what it does is that it tends to curate your models in such a way that if the models are not compatible with one another, it's not actually going to show them. So you only get compatible LoRa's, for instance. So you've got the other options down here. You've got the usual CFG model, VAE, We've got the seed, we can randomize the seed, and it's got some really useful features. For instance, we can say, okay, I want this to be portrait, and let's make it portrait like that, and it will change. I find this somewhat useful, but usually I have very specific numbers that I want to put in, and it doesn't, I think it just doesn't allow me to, let's say if I do this, let's go to free, do that, and then that's going to be a wide. We click on wide, it just corrects it somehow, and I don't know, I sometimes have very specific numbers I want to put in, but it always just corrects them. ControlNet is now, you can actually set this up when you're setting up the software. You can choose to install ControlNet. I think I installed some ControlNet features here, but I don't think they're coming up. I think I need to install them inside the installation directory for it to actually work. We've got the LoRa's, and it's going to limit the LoRa's to the ones that are compatible with your model. And we've got something called dynamic prompts, which I think is similar to the color options. If you saw a recent video where it was possible to choose colors, where it was possible to choose random colors inside of Comfy UI, I think it's similar to that. I'm not 100% sure. And we've got the option to enable noise, so we can choose noise from the CPU rather than the GPU, and that allows you to do comparisons across different operating systems, different GPUs. And we've got clip skip as well. So pretty standard stuff, very well organized. And with the new with the new nodes mode, I think that's going to be a really cool feature to play around with, especially once SDXL 1.0 comes along. Now, if we go back here, you've got some other options, so we can send to, and what this does, we can go from text to image, and we can say, okay, we've got this image here, let's send it to image, and it will take us to image. And here we could do, we could invoke a, let's get rid of this one, this doesn't work properly. We could invoke an image which is going to be a little bit wider, and a little bit wider than I want it to be. So you could play around with the image to image options here, but we can cancel that. And it says process cancelled, and we can take a look here. You can, let's say I want to use the prompt from this image. We can say use prompt. I think we're using that particular prompt, so we don't need to try that. Let's see if we can go to selected. Let's take one of my mech women, right click, say use prompt, and it will say, okay, that's the prompt that was used to create this image, and then we can play around with that. One area where I would have liked would have been to the option to send this to the editor, because the editor is kind of like sort of isolated on its own. It's not quite as integrated as the other aspects. I think those are the main things. We've got Discord, GitHub, all that other good stuff, and I think there are a few new advanced options that you only get by clicking on the show advanced options, and that's it. That's basically a brief overview. So I think this one's a very interesting one. The fact that you can now do node-based editing as well is I don't know if this is going to add extra power in the way that with Comfy UI you can do amazing complex stuff. I was only able just to touch the surface, to scratch the surface with this one. But who knows, maybe it's going to be something a little bit more similar to Comfy UI. This one is not quite as fast as Comfy UI. Comfy UI definitely with SDXL is a very, very fast mover. It's the fastest version of Stable Diffusion that I've used so far. So who knows, maybe this too will be kind of an alternative to that, maybe for people who want multiple ways of working. But guys, that is going to be it. Try this one out, download it and try it out. I don't think you're going to be disappointed with this one.
Expression for the things we like, but we stay quiet. Hold me now.